Hello, everybody. I'm Cheryl Talley Moss, and I want to welcome you to my YouTube channel. In this episode, I'm going to share with you a little wind damage to the greenhouse, how I'm growing pole beans in hanging baskets. I'm also going to share with you the setup for my Armenian cucumbers that will be growing on a trellis. And I'm going to show you how I use Ollas when we have a drought in North Texas to slowly and deeply water the roots of my plants. Last but not least, I'm going to show you how to trap and kill snails and slugs. Let's get started. There are two types of beans. You have pole beans that grow on a trellis, and the vines can grow real long. And then you have the bush type that will grow a foot or two, but you don't necessarily have to have a trellis to grow them. What you're looking at now are some of the beans that I grew on a trellis last year. And they're pole beans, green beans. And the ones that you're looking at now are the same beans, except I grew them in a hanging basket and I let them sprawl over the basket and run down, so they were very easy for me to harvest. Now let me show you how I did it. I added some used potting mix, or I like to say reclaimed potting mix, that was in containers, and I added compost to it. Now the one you're looking at right there, I added a little perlite to it because it had more compost in it. And all I did was I took about 6 beans and I put them in a circle, covered them up with compost, and watered them in very well. Now I'm going to be bringing you updates on the hanging baskets to let you see how they grow, as well as the ones that I planted in my raised garden bed in the last video. Here's a quick update on what else I'm growing in the greenhouse. Now I want you to see all of the plants that are in the greenhouse. You can see movement because I have 2 fans on them and they make so much noise, so I decided to just continue on with doing a voiceover. As you can see here, the tomato plants are looking good, as well as the soursop and the pepper plants. At the back of the greenhouse, I still have seedlings to transplant, and right in here is sugarcane that I grew last year, saved some pieces, and grew it all winter in the greenhouse. So I have 3 containers right here that I'm going to probably get in the ground tomorrow. And remember Pepper Place that I named the other day? All of these plants are doing well. I saw a little chewing on a couple of the plants, so I will come out tonight when there are no bees around, and I will spray the plants in the greenhouse. I decided to keep the straw on the floor of the greenhouse because we had so much rain, guys. I mean, we've had a lot of rain, and I need to absorb that moisture so it won't be slippery when I'm walking through there. Okay, now let's go outside so I can show you what I transplanted into the second raised garden bed. Remember I showed you in my last video what I did with the first bed. So now, here we go. I'm singing in the rain. I'm singing in the rain. Yeah, right. Look what the rain and the high wind did to my greenhouse opening. Yeah, it ripped the ties off on the right side, and from the outside looking in from the right side. So I had to tie them back up. But thank goodness I didn't have to leave out in the rain to find anything, because I had some rubber that is wrapped around wire for my tomatoes and some pruners, and I was able to tie them back up with only using a very small pinhole opening in the plastic covering. So I think that's going to hold it for a while. And even though we're expecting a low temperature of around 40 degrees early Saturday morning, just for a few hours, I'm still going to keep the door open because I noticed that I was trying to get a fungus. Actually, I had a fungus back in the wintertime, and it tried to surface itself again because it attacked one of my flowers, and I had to pull it up and spray for the fungus. And I used Serenade, which is an organic spray. So everything's looking good. The only thing I'm going to move out is the 2 soursop trees that we just passed. And everything else is looking good. I'll move the 2 soursops in the house for just one day. And then they're going back out in the greenhouse. Look at those tomatoes. My prayer and my goal is to have a carpenter to put greenhouse plastic, 6 milliliter, and 2 doors, one in the front and one in the back. If I can get someone to do that for me reasonably, that's what I'm going to do. Because the frame is good. The frame doesn't move. If you notice, you only see the plastic moving. The frame itself is anchored well with bricks, or I should say cement blocks. Okay. So, if you're interested in purchasing a greenhouse, a polytunnel type like I have here, go back and watch some of my videos because it has challenges just with anything. I've had to deal with a white fly infestation that I got rid of, wet, sticky, white mildew fungus. I've shown you how I heat my greenhouse, cool off my greenhouse, and of course how to grow in the greenhouse. So check those videos out. I planted 3 zinnias right in here, and they'll be blooming any day. And right here I planted 2 habaneros peppers, and over here I planted 1 cucumber to climb up this trellis, wrap over, and just sprawl out. And the same thing for that one over there. I had more cucumber plants, but I gave them to my daughter. Okay guys, these are Ollas. They are unglazed clay pots that will allow water, when you fill them up, they will release water slowly around the roots of your plants. And the reason why the water will reach the roots of your plants is because you bury them. You bury them in the ground. Now I want you to look right here. You can see where I dug a deep hole here next to this tomato plant. And I dug one here next to this tomato plant. And now, I'm going to sit it down in there. And then I'm going to mound the soil around it. And I won't be using these right now. As you can see, it's muddy in my raised beds. We get a lot of rain here in Mesquite, Texas during this time of the year. But just as quickly as it rains, the sun comes out. And then it'll start all over. And then it'll start all over again. So it's really wet around this time of year. But when the time comes, when we get into our drought period during the summer, all I have to do is just fill this up with water. And then it will slowly seep out and keep the roots slightly moist. And the water usually lasts for about 3 days, depending on the temperature. Because you guys know when it's real hot and you water either with a watering hose or soaker hoses, a lot of that water stays on the first 6 inches of the soil. And the sun, when we have temperatures over 100 degrees, the sun will evaporate it. But it won't evaporate very easily from the water that oozes out of here. Okay, since the ground was real soft, I was able to put my weight on the Ollas and push them firmly down a little further into the soil. And I mounded up the soil around it. I initially bought them to help me with watering my garden beds when I went on vacation. And I was away for a week. And this was about 3 or 4 years ago that I bought it. It might be a little bit longer. And everything was perfect in the beds when I got back. My son-in-law came over and just watered some of the small containers. But I had deeply soaked the trees and filled up my Ollas. And everything was beautiful when I got back in town. And I have another Olla. And I'm going to put it right here. Yeah. Oh, I want to show you something. Let me pan right over to here. Oh, is it behind me? Yes, it's behind me. Can you all see that zinnia? Let me go in closer. Now, it's going to become more vivid and larger as it starts to grow. So I wanted to share that with you. I was able to drag this little buggy over, little cart, and I'm going to shovel compost on top of those leaves and Ollas, which will be better for the bed anyway. It'll have more nutrition in it. But this is what I want to share with you, and this is my pearl from Cheryl. Here is the remnants of the pea pellets. And I know a lot of gardeners like to use them. I stopped using them about 6 years ago, and that's why it was at the bottom of my compost bin. These things don't break down like they try to make you believe. So if you're using pea pellets, my advice for you is to peel them away and plant your seedling directly into soil, whether it's a container or a raised bed or a regular bed, because this material does not break down. Okay, YouTubers, I put the compost right on top of the leaves, and that will also facilitate it breaking down. Now, it's beginning to rain, so I have to wrap this up pretty quickly and get back in the house. After the rain beats down on this garden bed, this compost is going to sink down a little further, and I will apply some more until all you see is just maybe an inch or two of the rim of the Olla. And so I can see it when it's time for me to put water in it. But I'm pleased with my progress. Now, this is a slug trap. I bought them about 6 years ago on eBay when they were brand new. They only cost me $1.99. And what you do is you put this in the ground and you sink it at soil level, and then this top is like an umbrella that stays on top of it to keep the rainwater out. Very simple. Now this is the deal. 6 years ago or so when I bought these, I think it was before I retired. So if it wasn't 6 years ago, it was about 5 years ago. But anyway, I do remember making a video on it. But now, when you go on eBay to purchase them, they are $10.99. So I'm blessed that I was able to get 6 of them for a very reasonable price of $1.99. So all I have to do is dig a hole. Now I'm going to dig it right here because slugs will crawl up from the ground, go inside of your bed. So I like to put mine on the edge. So I'm going to dig this out, and I'll put it over there by the Olla. You see the ground is real soft. And I got a nice little hole there, and you want to sink it in. You want to sink it in, and I'm going to empty this out because I want to get them in place early while the roots are growing vigorously. Okay? So I'm going to pat that down. Got it in a nice position. I'm going to empty it again. Then I'll put the top on. It's very important that you get it at soil level. I'll put the top on it for right now. Now, the rainwater won't go inside of there. So I need to fill this up around here. And that's it, guys. You will put your beer in there. I've heard that wine works because of the yeast in wine, or you can just use baker's yeast and water. They are attracted to that smell. I get better results with a cheap can of beer. Well, 40, as they say. And I will put one here. I will put one right over there. And I think I'll put one around in here. But I'm going to put 3 in both of the garden beds. So that'll make the 6. Okay, I hope I've shown you something that you can use. I'm going to hurry up and finish these so that I can get in the house before it starts to rain, because I feel a few drops on my head. Raindrops are falling on my head. Guys, there's one thing that I failed to tell you. Now, if you don't have these traps and you don't want to buy any, you can use what I did before I got these. I use tuna fish cans. In fact, I've been saving some. So I'll put some around the food forest. Make sure you dig a little hole, press it in, and fill it up with beer. The only deal with the tuna fish cans, when it rains, you're going to have to constantly go out and pour the beer or wine out and then refill it, because it will dilute it. But the beer won't hurt your crops. Okay? All right. Thank you for taking time out of your schedule to watch my video. I hope I share something you can use.
The end.